Alrighty, welcome back to a family business podcast, and we're gonna get into social media a little bit because all you hear nowadays is that if you're not on social media, you're gonna be left behind. But I want to dive deep in a little bit and be a little bit more realistic about social media because, yes, it is an important aspect of the business, but also how do we be practical and how do we approach it to be able to work for your business? So you'll see videos of Ryan Serhan and all these other social media gurus saying, this is the way and this is the future. But I want to dig into a little bit how we started and where we're going and where we need to improve, because I'll be the first one to tell you that my social media is nowhere where it needs to be. I need to be more consistent. All the things you need to hear is probably what I need to be doing, but how do you approach it, especially different areas of your business as well? So let's go back. And I do want to hear your story just a little bit about how, because you guys were right on the forefront of social media coming on and being able to use
Brad was right on the forefront.
Right, exactly. So run us through the aha moment of we need to be on Facebook.
2007.
What was your aha moment?
2008. No, or was it 2009? My aha moment was when I signed up to get an account on Facebook.
Dun, dun, dun.
Andrea said, not too much longer after that, I think it was 2008 or 2009.
No, I think it was 2008 because we got married in 2007. I got my license in 2007, joined you in the business that year. It was 2007. Trust me.
And you said we need to get a business page as well. And I said on Facebook. And then I said,
what you said is nobody goes to Facebook. That's where people put pictures of vacations and parties and all these things. They don't go there for business to buy a house.
Yeah. And if you look back at it now, if we wouldn't have been on there, can you even imagine?
Well, it's, and we'll get into this in a little bit too, but it's probably right now your strongest driving and most consistent numbers that you show to your clients. And it's pretty crazy to look and think that way. But if you look at the demographics, it's probably the core group of people that are, moving and upsizing or downsizing, all of that kind of different stuff.
What you're trying to dance around right now, PT, is that they're the older people and then we're old. I think that's what you're trying to say right now.
Which is kind of funny because when it came out, PT, that was the hip thing,
Well, Snapchat exactly. Too, but I never did Snapchat.
No, not Snapchat. It was MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. Oh my God, we just aged ourselves.
Probably way before your time.
I've never had the pleasure.
Do you even know what MySpace is?
I've got an idea, but I've never seen the platform.
This is MySpace.
Exactly, right? Oh my goodness. But no, you have to have a way of words and to be respectful to your
but it is true.
Elders.
But it is true. I mean, there's no hiding that. I mean, the demographic for Facebook is definitely a little bit more mature audience. Which for us, having been in the business, which apparently I can no longer say how long you've been in the business, Brad. The other day I read this thing on Shran Srivasta's think he posts something on social asking what the one thing is that realtors say that then you want to punch them in the face. And somebody put,
how many years they've been in the business?
Yeah. When someone says I've been in the business for blank years. So apparently we can't say that anymore.
I think at a certain point though, it's pretty impressive, right? I mean, when you've been able to
apparently not to this
be
guy.
In the business and before, see now I can say on this topic is we were in the business before social media.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. But so anyway, it is when you've been in the business for 25 years, sorry, dude, whoever you are, you look back at the things that work and you do have more repeat clients. The older you get, your demographic of your clients tends to age with you. Not that we don't have clients from some of our more mature clients that are like the children, graduating from college, getting married, they're buying their first home, which is awesome. But they definitely do tend to go more towards Facebook. And to quote Brad, PT, which you're not around a lot when he says this, but it's hilarious because we do Instagram now, which was, I will say, a learning curve for me. And I'm getting better at it.
I still don't really.
That's what he says. When I'm like,
that's okay.
I'm like, did you see such and such as this? Or did you see this reel? He goes, where? And he'll look and he's like, I can't find it. And I'll be like, he goes, it's probably on that dumb Instagram thing, right? I don't even know how to use it.
Yeah, but no one really, I mean, there's people that have mastered it and understand the algorithm, but it changes so much that no one really knows how to use it.
Right.
I think Facebook is just more, it's more, so they're difficult in regards to how you can market on them.
Sure.
But they are more user friendly in the things that you can see and do. They also interface better with some of our platforms that we utilize for, contact management and, dare I say, lead gen. They interface better with that.
Sure.
So I think that's one of the reasons why we like, and I also can interact easier. Like one of the things I hate about Instagram, if we're talking about this, I hate that you can't edit your comment. Like you screw it up, you can't change it. Like if I type, lunch instead of learn,
Sure.
where Facebook, you can go back and you can edit it.
Well, here's my other question too, and I may be way off on this. I'm not the social media guru. I've taught myself, but I'm definitely not where PT is with it. When I look at Instagram, though, if you want to do a lot of video, that's probably where it's at. I mean, in my opinion, it's more of a visual platform than you are when you're over on Facebook, where in real estate, it can be really good that you're able to print out more of a description of the property. Whereas I think Instagram's more visual,
Sure,
which for a lot of people
definitely less words. Well, it used to be on
which can be more catchy too.
Right. And the difference too, I mean, you use them in such different ways, and we go through this and we explain this every single time we sit down with a client on how specifically that we market on different platforms, because it is different. And you're totally right. Instagram is digital, and there's ways to continue to grow your account and be successful, however, which way you want to improve your account and want it to be able to use to advertise. But it all goes back to the reason why I think Facebook was such a good success and was a number one used thing for you guys. It's much easier not to be as consistent on Facebook as it is Instagram. If you're not consistent on Instagram or even TikTok, for example, then you're just going to get thrown to the bottom. Okay. And you hear that all the time, and it's so true. And you hear about these warmer posts and all this stuff. And Facebook's starting to get to that point too, where you still want to prime when you have a bigger video that you want to come out and stuff like that. But Facebook, you get a little bit more lenience, in my opinion, from, not as getting one reel, one post, and 5 stories out a day, right?
Yeah.
Because the audience of Facebook they're not the scrollers,
sure,
right? So, and that's why, right? So on Instagram, as you understand in your generation, like that's why if you're not consistent, they're not seeing you in their scrolls, so they're not paying attention to you, and you're not all of a sudden irrelevant, right?
Exactly.
Whereas Facebook, it's just they're more looking for you,
sure,
right? And they're more interested in if that's what you do, or they like you, or they know what you do for your business, then they're following your page and they're keeping up to date with you that way.
Right.
They're not scrolling. I mean, is there even you can scroll on Facebook, but not really.
And what's really interesting is it's at the top of the screen, there's stories.
Right.
I never read those.
No.
Well, and the reason is
he doesn't know how. Let's be real.
It reminds me of, it's a lot like Instagram, and it's only up for like 24 hours. Like I like to literally go in there and read, and then go to the past history and look at other stories or shares that person may have had, right? Like the history. And I know I'm old.
What's so funny about that is we're completely different. If I see a 3-paragraph thing on Facebook, I'm already done. You're not getting my attention.
Similar.
I'm gone.
Because usually they say the same thing, and Chat GPT wrote them, and so I'm over it.
Well, but it's not even that. It's just like we've been trained. Our brains have been trained to consume content quickly, and if it doesn't catch your attention, then
you're off to the next thing.
You're gone. So that's another interesting way too, and I think we can kind of segue into this thing as well, is how do you use them? And I think that for different people, there's different strokes, right? So I think it's super, super important for someone that's just getting in the business, that may be younger. I think overall, just if you're first getting in the business, to make sure that you have that Facebook page, that Instagram page, and just being consistent with it, because Ryan Sanhart said this video was so incredible that I just came across my feed one day, and he's like, the way that we are perceived now is completely different. Back in the day, your skill was the forefront, and what your Rolodex had, that was what people were impressed by and what drew them to you, right? Now it has completely changes how people perceive you and how they see you, because everything's digital and it's right in front of your face. So how you brand yourself is super important, and it's crazy.
Whether it's true or not true, PT.
But it all comes out, because people are real, and people understand, especially if, okay, so say you're not being real and you're being completely like just not yourself, it's going to get sniffed out immediately when you meet the person, right?
Well, right. That's why I'm laughing. And Nikki, our DC, who's an agent too, we just had a training with someone.
Sure.
And so Nikki'd never seen her in person. I'd been on several calls with her. We get on the first call and Nikki's like, oh, I thought this was with so-and-so. And she's like, oh yeah, that's me. And Nikki's like, you look so different from your social media.
Well,
posts.
and like, you want to get really outdated. That's kind of like back when I got in the business, like everybody had a business card, right?
Sure.
And you should have seen the glamour shots that these agents had on their business cards. And, a lot of classes that I went to said that you should get that updated every year, that you don't want to show up to an appointment, to your point, PT, not being the same person that you look like on your business card or on social media. Yeah. I mean, if you're this goofy person on social media and then you show up to the appointment and you are straight-laced and tight, they're going to be like, that's not the person that I called. And it's just really kind of weird. So just be yourself. Well, is what you're saying too. Right?
And would you agree or disagree, PT, that I feel like just now that we're getting more into utilizing Instagram, that Instagram is definitely more of a place to form your identity or your brand, right? For what you're doing, because it allows more of that type of,
kind of like in the olden days of magazine.
Well, like kind of, but Facebook, I mean, sure, people do that, but it's not as prominent on Facebook. Okay. Facebook is definitely more, if you're using as a business page, let's say for real estate, it is definitely more about your listings and what's happening in your listings, whereas Instagram is more about like you. Not that we don't advertise our listings, but I feel like the reels, that going back to what you're saying, the reels and the things that are getting more attention and are getting pushed up the feed are the people that are, it's not necessarily about the particular house. It's something ridiculous or very interesting of you, PT, like what's that video you did with Sarah with the,
oh yeah,
I don't even,
great.
Those words that Brad and I didn't understand. What was it? Demure. What does that even mean again?
It's elegant, but also kind of like chill. Like it's Gen Z stuff.
What's no cap?
Yeah. No cap is like no lie, but yeah, it's interesting to see how different things do. But it's just a disservice if you're not being yourself, because if you're putting the time and effort to be consistent on social media, you might as well just brand yourself the way you want to, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Well, and I really think a lot of people, and there's a part of it is that, they watch all these videos and they think, oh, I want to be like that person. No, you need to be like yourself.
Right.
And every person is unique and every person is special. And you have to remember that just be your genuine self. And that's going to get you more business than anything. And like you said, nowadays it starts on social media.
Well, and the other thing that I think's changed a lot in social media, which is I'll even admit, up until probably the last 30 to 60 days, I was very wrapped up in number of followers, right?
Sure.
Especially on Instagram. I don't really pay much attention to my followers or likes on Facebook, because again, I think I can see the engagement on that. I know when we post something, who the people are that are engaging with it, and they're the people I want to engage with it. So I'm just letting that be and continuing some of the trends I've done there. But with Instagram, it's now more about the content, right?
Sure.
And it's about being consistent, which I think that a lot of, myself included, a lot of people get this great idea. They'll go to some training or some class and they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do these posts, and then I'm gonna do the daily minute, and then I'm gonna do the weekly walkthrough, and and then they do none of it, because even what we do, honestly, and I don't think people realize this, it's a dang full-time job. And we have a social media person that also, supplements some of our personal things that we're doing, but it is a full-time job. So I think, and what we've found the most success with here recently in the last 30 to 60 days, and where I've really noticed our engagement go up and our views on our Instagram page, is just picking one thing, which we've been doing the question of the day, pick your thing. And we've been consistent about that. And that is where we've really seen, we've literally doubled our engagement in the last 66, we were like, by thousands in the last 60 days, because that's really the only thing I've changed for the most part is that. And also, going back to being authentic, Brad has a very peachy in his nighttime voice. Brad has a very good voice. It could be a sportscaster or something, whatever. So when Brad used to get behind the camera, I'd call it the what would I call your sportscaster voice or whatever. He'd be like, "Look at this 2-bedroom home," and I'm like, "Dude, can you just talk to the camera like you normally do?" Because
that goes back to being your genuine self,
right? I'm always like, Brad, you don't walk into a listing or a buyer walkthrough with a buyer and be like, "Do you see that 2-bedroom?"
So you really shouldn't say, "I'm David Muir from the ABC Nightly News." Right?
Oh my God.
It's.
Well, I'm sure you could. It'd be a funny video, but
but you want to be more your genuine self.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And when you've started when we've started to do that in that content, and you're just who you are. The other thing, and somebody said this, and is that I used to really worry, or a lot of people worry about what they're wearing, what their hair looks like, do they have makeup on, whatever. If it's, you're just who you are. If I'm having a bad hair day, I still have to go to a listing appointment or go show buyers houses if it's on my calendar. So why am I not posting content?
And I really think that is one thing that, and it's a generational thing, I'm sure, but I do see a lot of social media postings where they're almost too much, too relaxed. You still want to present yourself as a professional, but you don't want to be uptight. So there's a happy medium that you want to be like you would be if you were going on a listing appointment, right? You want to show your whole personality.
Yeah, and I would agree partly with that.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing too is I think when people first get into creating content and trying to figure out that whole thing it's not easy to be able to get in front of a camera, and some people are gifted and can just jump right in front and just carry on, but for the majority it's a struggle to kind of relax a little bit and just have fun with it. But the great thing is that over time, and as you consistently do it, it gets easier and you get more comfortable with it. So it's part of, yes, it's how you want to brand yourself, but also it's just as time builds on, you'll get more comfortable, what you like to do more. And that's the great thing about it too. It's up to you what you want to do. There's no script. Yes, there's an algorithm on what does well. But it's mainly about just being consistent and getting that content out, and your followers will do the rest.
Well, you had read something too, which I would agree with, Andrea, is that
you're agreeing with me. Wow.
Something is better than nothing too, right? We used to always try to be perfect, back to I'm David Muir with the ABC Nightly News, and Dave Muir is an extremely talented person, but when you're doing real estate, it's a lifestyle thing. Like you want to be, you just need, you don't need, like my very first video, gosh, we go back to that. And I wish we ought to play a snippet of that later on in one of these podcasts.
Crunch,
it was horrendous because I was
Brad walking through the snow.
I was trying to be too perfect, which made me be not perfect at all.
Correct.
And just not natural. So yeah.
Well, in going to that, okay, so that's what I was gonna say. When it comes to the question of the day things, if any of you have seen that, if not, check some of them out. For real, truth, 100%. Brad does not know the question ahead of time. No. We haven't discussed it in any way. I haven't hinted it to him. And that's why I feel like they're the most enjoyable, because it's not scripted. It's literally just his gut reaction to the question. And that's what we post.
And I want to touch on that too. I find it personally, if I don't get it on the first time, then I'm doomed, because every time I redo a video,
so funny
it gets worse, and I think about different things and how I could do it better. And the great thing is just do it. Roll with it, let it fly. Like I said, yes, the first time you might have a couple, but you have to be in the mindset that no one cares. Actually, I think people enjoy more when it's not perfect. And you go back and you'll hear everyone say too is like a majority of the content that is better is just shot on an iPhone. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be you have your $3,000 photographer or videographer follow you around and edit everything and all of that other great stuff. But
unless you're Sharon Travasta, then you just have a full-time one that's with you all the time.
Well, exactly, because the knowledge is power coming from him. But it's just the important thing is, and if I'm to leave anyone here with something to take away, if you're looking to get into content, to growing your social media, Mr. Jazz Takar up in Canada, he said something that really stuck with me, and I lived it to this point. Is he said, "Ready, fire, aim." And he's like, you just need to do it. Get out. He's like, and this is one of the reasons why we started this podcast. We've been thinking about doing a podcast for forever, but at some point we were just like, we just need to do it. Just sit down and do it. And
it was after we were in Chicago at
right.
that,
and where we saw him.
Yeah.
So if there's something holding you back, or you're thinking about doing something, starting a YouTube, just fire away and adjust later.
Well, YouTube might not be the place to start. There's so much work involved with that. I mean, if you're going to do it, you have to do it, right? I mean,
yeah, but what you're really saying is just do something, right? And, somebody who's gosh, I can't remember what it was. It was Ed Milet. When he did his very first podcast, like he was all kind of confused, and he was like, I don't know that I'm going to be very good at it. And then somebody told him, I'm pretty sure it was him, just do it anyway, that most of them are terrible. So just do it and be yourself. And now you see what that's grown into. But getting back to the point, it's consistency and it's practice. And anything that you do, the more that you practice it, the more comfortable that you end up getting with it. Therefore, the more natural that you're going to be at it too.
Well, and I'm by no means, I have two other thoughts on this that I feel very strong about. I'm by no means a social media expert. I mean, I think I really had Facebook down like to a T when then Instagram came about, and then they changed
Zillow down too.
Oh my God,
we're loading all those listings in there.
Zillow is not social media, Brad. Maybe we need to help you with that.
Hey, it's online. That was the start of social
World
media.
Wide Web.
Exactly. The World Wide Web.
Anyway, and then Instagram came along, and then that changed everything. And then the two of them, you have to make them work together. And now we have Threads, and that makes my head explode. And Twitter, don't even get me started.
Threads?
Oh no, does he not even know what that is?
Yeah, but I haven't looked at it since it dropped.
So let me stay focused here. So anyway, so what I was going to say though is that number one, when it comes to those things, do not buy followers. That's the other thing that I would say is that was another big thing, right? People were doing things where they would buy followers or put these, no offense to you if you do this, but it makes me crazy. Like the whole thing where they're like, hey, watch my video, like it and share it. And then I'm going to put you in a drawing to win a $50 gift card. Those people are only on your social to win the $50 gift card and then they go away. Okay. Like you're genuine. If you want to do that because you want to do it for your base audience that and they like you and you trust you, great. But for me, that is not, we have literally never done that ever on Instagram. We've done some contests and stuff on Facebook for fun things, but not to gain followers. We just did it. Right. So I despise those. So sorry if that's your method of gaining followers. The other thing that I have to say is that, and it goes back to just doing it and being genuine. If you were like walking, like let's say you're going to show houses, right, to a buyer, PT, that's how it should be. I mean, stuff happens. Like, and to your point, like people want to see the real life stuff that happens. Nobody wants to see the perfect, poised, because that's not reality. That's not how our life is. And I truly think that that's how you get better engagement, that you get followers that want to pay attention to you. And I guess I have one more thing. I also can't stand it. I'm sorry again, if you're an agent that does this. I shouldn't say can't stand, but it's just not me. I'll have agents that'll say, here's the 3 different accounts that I like. And you are actually one of these people, PT, which I mean, I get it. Here's the 3 accounts I like. And, I'm going to start doing my social media stuff like this person. I think that that's great to get ideas, but I think that you are you. Yeah. And so you should it's just like going to the paint store and you look at paint colors, right? You might see a paint color in somebody's house that you like, but you don't go, oh, I only want that because it was in Susie's house. you just like it. So you go to the paint store or you compare how it looks in your house, and then you figure out how to make it work for you. There are people that are just like, I'm going to do everything that person does. Okay, well then you're them, not you.
Well, exactly. But you also fall into the trap too. It's something. It might not be something you enjoy, and then you lose it, and you're not consistent. And that's something that I can, from a first person perspective, that happens. So it goes all the way back again. It's your brand. It's how you want to present yourself, and how you want the world to see you. It's not how you want you to look like someone or be that someone, because at the end of the day, you are you. And you have the keys to the city to show yourself off. And it's so powerful too, to actually think that way. Because yeah, you could have dumped some money into a newspaper or a magazine back in the day, but now it's like, it's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And it's free.
It's funny that you say that. So that actually, circling all the way back to the beginning of this, when you said, how do we get started on Facebook? I remember, so the local newspaper here, there's actually two of them, one on the Iowa side of the Quad Cities and one on the Illinois side. We would run ads in conjunction with what our brokerage was running. And we literally spent at the time, and this is back in 2007, 2008, we literally spent, if you can imagine, and Brad knows this, over $10,000 a year to have a half-page ad in a newspaper.
Yikes.
And I remember all the time, like, people, oh, well, like, when we kind of started to slow that down, and they'd be like, well, I didn't see my house in the newspaper. Well, yeah, maybe that's a good thing, right? I mean, like, and now obviously we all know, I mean, that was, we were kind of, right. We were kind of, I mean, don't you remember your dad though? God bless him. He'd be like,
well, how's anybody gonna find the houses? How's anybody gonna find you guys? Blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I mean, that's a big shift, right? I mean, from newspaper their whole lives to social media. And I have to give my dad a lot of credit. He's very good at wishing people happy birthday on Facebook. So, but he's 82 and he's on Facebook, which is cool. So that even tells you that there's even a part of that demographic that's active on there that looks at listings online.
And there's so much more though to it. Social media is meant to open the door. It's not meant to sell the client, right? You have 98% of the job to do once you make that connection. So it's basically, it's your billboard, but it's not the service you provide.
Yeah. It's like the new way, instead of going back to a different podcast we did, where it's not, instead of like searching people on the World Wide Web, Brad, which, I mean, I think they still do a little of that. It is like there, it's like you can still kind of have this perception that you put, right? It could be your picture from 2 years ago. It could be whatever. If you're someone that's looking to hire a listing agent, a buyer's agent, you're looking to hire someone to, do something for you in your business, and you go onto social media, generally speaking, if it's up to date, to your point, you're going to know who that person is before they even come, to your point. Like, right. Like I just heard this on a training the other day. Like, you want them, when they call you, to recognize your voice. Sure. Like, or if you call them, oh my gosh, this is ptboeye. Right. Hi. Yeah. Or, this is Brad Bowie. I recognize you from, I saw you on Instagram. You were playing with your dogs out on the golf course. I mean,
right. But you do, I still think, going really back to it, I do think a lot of people do search agents, but the difference is they would immediately go to a website, right?
World Wide Web.
Well, they went on the World Wide Web, went to Google, and then they would search realtors, right? And I still think they do that, but the next deal that they do, to your all's point, is they go right to your social media, right?
Right.
So that's why that has to be top of the game.
Well, let's be real. Do we not do this for buyers and sellers? I mean, do you not?
Of course. When somebody calls in, you like go to PT probably goes to their Instagram page, but a lot of the times go to their Facebook page to see who it is. Like,
are they a real person? Do we have any mutual friends? Yeah. What is it that they do? I mean, we do the same thing. So do we not think that the general public is doing that to us? Of course they are.
Well, yeah. And most of the time when people search agents, it's short-term memory, right? You're looking for something immediately, and you'll probably forget who those people were when you search them. Right. But the biggest thing is if you can gain if you can create a relationship on social media, you have the ability to stay in front of them every single day.
Constant advertising.
Instead of just having being potential Google, you pay enough money to be the top of the Google page, which is also very, very handy as well.
And because we haven't done this on the podcast, remember the story that I told that when so-and-so, when you walk into a coffee shop and you see the same person like every day, you feel like even though you've never talked to the person, like you would be able to just go up and like have a conversation with them. Same concept with social media is if you're out in front of them all the time, they're going to feel like they know you.
Right.
Well, and I think that was to piggyback off that, when we were out at that conference last fall in Vegas for Rise, that was kind of an eye opener for me. Not that I didn't understand that was true, but we had some people walk up to us that literally introduced themselves. And I said to Brad, I'm like, do I know these people? He's like, yeah, they're so-and-so from Des Moines. And I was like, oh, and they said, well, yeah, we recognized you. Cause I said, have you met him? And he's like, and the people are like, well, no, we just recognize you guys from your social media. I'm like, wow, that's wow. Okay. I get it now. Right. Maybe that was the eye opener for me.
You're probably, I mean, that totally, I just had that happen last week at church. Somebody came up to me and said, I love your social media game.
They like your question of the day videos.
I don't think this person has ever liked one of the posts. Going back to your point is he didn't like it. And there's a lot of things that I look at that I like that I just didn't hit the like button. I mean, not on purpose, but I viewed it.
Right.
And that's really the big thing is getting views.
Right.
Engagement and views.
Yep. And that's the thing that I check now. I don't check the likes. I don't really pay much attention to the comments. I mean, that's great if people share it and they comment. I like that. But I'm looking at how is this performing? And that's showing me that it's the right kind of content, which is, again, we do that for brand awareness, but also, especially if it's a listing for one of our sellers, to make sure that they're, getting what I want. The other thing I want to touch on, which we didn't touch on, is that as a seller, one of the things I think is funny is we'll have sellers say to us, hey, I haven't seen my listing on your social media. And unless we are, I'm going to say organic, is that the right word? Organically posting it to our page. So I'm going in and I'm manually putting it on my feed on Facebook. Not really the same on Instagram, although I could make it a post or a reel. They're probably not going to see it in their feed because the systems that we have set up to market those properties are to market to certain demographics or to people that are doing things on social media that makes the algorithms or whatever. I don't know.
They know that they're probably not going to buy their own house.
Right. So they're putting it in front of people who are the most likely person to buy it or be interested in it. And that's what's funny because we just had one. It was the seller wife was saying that she didn't see her house anywhere. And I'm like, well, I can see it on mine, and I can see it here, which of course, obviously I can go on the backside and see things. Well, she went to her son, who's about 30 years younger, and said, hey, they're telling me that my house is advertised, but I'm not seeing it. Yep. He pulls up his and he can see it in 4 different places because those fancy words, what do you call them? Algorithms,
algorithms.
Whatever. Well, they know he's more of a likely buyer for it.
And there's something too behind, paid advertisements and there's a whole different, thought process on that as well. But one thing that works that I think everybody can do, and it's pretty simple is if you have a post or a reel or just some type of piece of content that does well, and you see it starting to run a little bit, throw $1 behind it and then watch it run. Because the platform will tell you if something is doing well. Like you said, looking at engagement, non-followers are a huge thing. And if you see that number rising fast and views rising fast, throw $1 behind it and just let it run. Because the platform's telling you that the content's doing well. So if it's not doing well, who cares? Maybe post it again in 2 weeks. But it's just about just having the thought process of, okay, where is this going and how do I allow it to grow to the right people? And you just work through that. And luckily the platforms make it easy to do that.
Yeah.
They have an idea of people Brad always says all the time, people smarter than us, way smarter than us, know how to create these algorithms to get it to the people that it needs to be to. it's social media is crazy.
Yeah.
It blows our minds. But if you were to leave, if you're sitting here today listening to this and thinking, where do I start? How do I start? My thing for you would be is just start.
Well, and I'm going to add to that, go back through one of the things we also did. Go back through like your reels and your posts that you've done in the past before you've decided that you're going to double down and commit to being consistent and start doing it. But like you kind of halfway did it, right? Go back and see which ones performed well.
Yeah.
How many views did you get on those reels? What type of content was it? And pick from one of those, just one that you can double down on and do more content like that. I think that that's the way to, watch it roll.
Be personable, be you, and be successful.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We rock, paper, scissors on the way out too.